Hey, podcast people. Yesterday, I had a chance to sit down with Richard Gober, founder and frontman of Panic Stricken, a panic tribute band based out of Austin, Texas. We speak about his life journey, his late father, and a chance birthday gift from his brother that took him to a lifelong relationship with guitar and performing live music. Shout out to Cam, John, Grady, Connor, and Rex. Sorry we couldn't all get together, but look forward to seeing you guys real soon. Please go check them out in Denver tonight, September 6th. Tomorrow in Ridgeway, Colorado, September 7th, at the Charleston Poorhouse on September 13th, and Charlotte, North Carolina on September 14th. While you're enjoying their sound, take a moment to check out Grady, Connor, and Cam's band, The Gators. And as always, support all the live music that you can this fall. There's a ton of great music happening. Enjoy the show. What's going on, RG?
Oh man, just doing the final preparations for our trip this weekend and heading to the airport this afternoon.
Nice. Where y'all playing?
We are playing at Cervantes
Ooh.
in the ballroom. We're headlining a tribute festival of sorts called Serve Stock that they do every so often, and I think there's like Jimmy Buffett and Huey Lewis in the News, and maybe Tom Petty is playing with us. The band that's playing the main stage with us is called Breadbox. Kind of forgot which one they do.
These are all cover bands, or is actual Huey Lewis gonna be?
Yeah, they're all home band. That'd be badass. No, they're all tribute bands.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I was about to get excited for a second there.
Oh, I mean, I tell you what, I'd be really freaking excited if you were playing a show with Huey Lewis and freaking News. Unfortunately, I think Huey is can't sing anymore. Unfortunately, it sucks.
Oh, that does suck.
Something terrible happened to his vocal cords a few years ago, I think, and yeah.
Oh my God,
it's a bummer. They were such a good band.
They sure were. I growing up, I listened to a lot of stuff. My folks were into a lot of classic rock. My dad had a weird. He was a dead guy for a long time, and that's what got me into jam band stuff. But he was also like a punk rock guy. He liked the Ramones.
Nice.
And of course, growing up in Athens, REM, B-52s, Vic, Chestnut, all that.
That's
stuff.
how I knew about all those guys. Is how I knew about Athens. I wanted to go to college there, but it was too far away from Beaumont, Texas, and I had scholarship to Ole Miss, and so I put the kibosh on that one.
Is that where you grew? Yeah. Well, Ole Miss is not a bad place to go to, from what I hear.
No, it was great.
Where are you from? Beaumont originally?
I am. Yeah, I was born and raised. My family's from Mississippi and Florida and other parts, but they moved down there in the '60s, and that's where I grew up.
I noticed you gave credit in one. I was watching some of y'all's videos yesterday and today, and you gave credit in one of the videos to Cole. Was Cole your dad?
Yeah, he passed away actually while I was at Red Rocks this year.
Oh no!
Or after the last show, he passed away in the early morning of the next day, and so I woke up to that.
I hate to hear that.
Yeah, made for a pretty long drive back to Austin. And
What? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you.
I got to text with them that night. They played the new one on Snake Oil King. It's called "Life as a Tree," which I really like, and it makes me think of my dad even before he passed. And then they played a Vacation that was just excellent. That whole show was excellent. I mean, for a show that ended up being, I wouldn't say a last show for him, of course, but the last one before they finished this long break and Jimmy Heals, but man, it was a banger. It was such a good show. But during that show, those songs, came on, and I was, of course, thinking about my dad because he was sick. I mean, and it was, his end was right around the corner, but I expected to be able to see him one more time before I got back. I mean, before it happened. And anyway, I texted him and showed him some video. I texted him some videos of what's going on and told him I was thinking about him. And my mom texted me back and said, that made him real happy.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. What'd he do for a living? Or I guess both your folks.
He did all kinds of stuff, but I think, before I was born and a couple of years after, he was a professional photographer down there, and every high school wedding thing that, photographers, sports teams, all that stuff, he was on top of it. And he, just about everybody in town knew him, over the years. And then he stopped doing that and became an insurance agent. And so that's actually a pretty smart transition. You make friends. You make friends with a bunch of people who take all their kids' pictures for years and years, and everybody knows your name.
That is pretty smart, actually.
Hey, by the way, decided, and he still took the pictures. That's the thing. He got, he was working for a company. They had I think it was called School Pictures Incorporated, and he owned a camera shop for a little bit, and that was a pretty neat time. My brother and sister got to experience what life was like when my folks were doing that, and I did, have virtually no memory of it. He was pretty much always an insurance agent by the time I could really form concrete memories. About 5 years old, I guess. And but music was a big part of the stereo and the record player and the reel to reel and all that stuff was always on.
What kind of stuff were your folks listening to when you were a kid?
Man, they had a really wide, Leon Russell was a big one of their favorites. Willie Nelson and all the outlaw country guys and some disco stuff. They're people of their time. My dad really liked Foreigner a lot, and among other things. And he used to. They had a theater company thing of sorts in Beaumont. I think they called it the Follies, and he did that every year, and so he could sing. And he even played a guitar a little bit, but he didn't do it much while I was around. So he taught me how to sing, I guess, or at least showed me the basics of it and everything.
He really was a jack of all trades, wasn't he?
Oh man, yeah, he could fix cars and do it. It's just the kind of guys like him are already rare, and they are even more rare today. So
yeah, he might be driving a truck, might be pulling the calf. You don't never know.
Yeah, he always seemed to know just a little bit about everything, and so yeah, he was an excellent dad.
That's awesome. Where is Beaumont relative to Austin?
It is about 3.5-4 hours southeast of here, basically. So you go through Houston to get there.
Oh, okay.
10, and it's not far from the Louisiana border. It's kind of funny. It's obviously in Texas, and there's certainly some Texas stuff about it, but really, Beaumont is much more like Louisiana than it is Texas.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's pretty swampy there, but it's quite nice. It's very lush and green, and you kind of look past the pollution from all the petrochemical plants that aren't far from there. It's not so bad. One thing I love about Beaumont is that you can pretty much get anywhere you need to go, and it's not a small town. It's about 120,000 people or so in the central area, and then you add up all the surrounding counties, and it's just not all that small. But man, you can still get anywhere you want in about 10 minutes. Pretty awesome.
Josh Timmermans is over in Austin. I don't know if you've ever run into.
Yeah, in fact, he just moved not too far from me. I think I haven't quite pinpointed the exact location, but he's in my area.
Man, he's a solid guy. I really enjoyed talking to him.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's been really. He helped us a ton. So one time, I guess when they did Red Rocks in 23 Red Rocks, they did that 6-night run in Austin before it, which was pretty awesome and unprecedented, at least in, I don't remember the last time they played that many times in a row in a single place other than when they went to Paris back in the 90s. But yeah, we at that time coincidentally had kind of gotten hooked up and roped into a pre-show. We'd play on the Thursday before they started their Red Rocks run in June, and we were doing a benefit, raising money for Conscious Alliance. Is it Conscious Alliance? Yeah, Conscious Alliance. And part of our show, part of the event was a silent auction, and so we kind of scrambled around and hit up people on our social networks of sorts, ask them. I think we got a guy to do a guided fishing trip, and a guy did a hunting trip, and other people's services they put up there and art. And finally, we're friends with the guy here in Austin who owns Straight Music, and we were thinking, well, let's see if he'll donate a guitar. And if Panic's here, maybe we can get Timmermans to help us get it signed by the band. And that's what we did. So Clint over at Straight gave us an acoustic guitar, and then we got in touch with Josh, who got us in touch with Panic's merch coordinator, and did the necessary stuff, and couldn't believe it, man. They agreed to sign it, and so we brought the guitar to Josh, and a couple of days later, sometime in the middle of their run here, they said it was ready, and our percussionist went to pick it up, and lo and behold, Sonny brought it out to him, and so it was fun all around, and there's a really cool picture somewhere on our Facebook page and other parts of social media. John and Sonny kind of clowning around with the guitar. It's a really good shot. I think Josh actually took that picture, maybe, or it might have been Sonny's cousin Armando. I can't remember. But it's a really good shot. Yeah, really cool memory. And I think we got like $4,000 for that guitar at the silent auction, which is pretty cool. And the band, through Josh, kept, it's like, so what did y'all get for the guitar? What did you get for the guitar?
He turned me on to. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool moment for us, in terms of they know who we are. There's no doubt about that, So I mean, they know we exist.
Especially for John, like being the percussionist and going, I'm sure when Sonny came out, he was like, ah.
I know. It's pretty wild, man. Yeah, you should see the big grin on his face on that picture. Sonny's coming up behind him and has his hand on the neck. I think he's making a chord, and it's pretty funny. It's a really good picture. So
what'd you study at Ole Miss? And I think you and I are probably about the same age. What'd you do in school? What'd you study in school?
Oh, well, kind of, moved around in interest a little bit, but, ended up in, let me finish school as fast as I can, because I'd been there long enough, business degree. And, I tried a little bit of journalism and a little bit of, philosophy and English and all that stuff. And, and then, I guess I don't know what I didn't like about it, but it's been a long time. But, I just kind of liked having a good time, really.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too. It was hard to focus. It was hard to focus living in Athens and going to school in Athens.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah, I probably would have flunked out first year in Georgia.
Oh, I did.
So it's probably a good thing I didn't go. But yeah, I mean, but my whole MO for wanting to go there was, oh, that's where REM's from. Yeah, it's like I gotta go to that place.
It's funny. And, it's fun, not to interrupt your thought, but I've had this discussion with my daughter. She's 12. She's 12, so she's still young, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, I felt like I had to go to college just to check a box. And if, our brains aren't 100%. Fully developed till we're 26, and I just was lost. I didn't know what I wanted to do and ran out of money. But if I had to do all over again, I feel like I would have been able to focus a little bit better. But I feel you on that. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's but at Ole Miss, I worked at Proud Larry's for a while. I don't know if you're familiar with that place.
Oh yeah.
But wow, got introduced to a lot of cool music, and through Panic, of course, as I discovered. I had a roommate from Snellville, Georgia, when I moved into the dorm as a freshman, and I had one of those random roommates kind of thing. Just pick a roommate for me, Ole Miss.
What year was this roundabout?
93.
Okay, so yeah, we are about the same age.
Yeah. I'm the elder statesman of the band, kind of the Colonel Bruce, if you will. Except I don't have the superpowers he still has, because I'm sure he's in the cosmos doing his thing.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying you picked your roommate, and
and he said, and I at that time, of course, REM and adjacent bands to them, and the grunge, of course, and all the things that were relatively popular, and also my older brother and sister kind of steered me along. They were both, 10 and 11 years older than me. So I heard lots and lots of cool records growing up. And, all my kid friends were listening to one thing and I was listening to some of that, but mostly more obscure stuff than they were. And, so, you're all the alternative rock, all that whole kind of, you pick a band from that time, and I probably listened to a World Party. I don't know if you remember them. They were my first concert that I went to at the Austin Music Hall. I think I was 14 and a half, maybe 15. And that's the first time I smoked weed, too. That's pretty good. It took me 3 sessions before I finally got high. And boy, howdy. What a life-changing event that was.
Yeah, I was a late bloomer, too. I don't think I smoked until... Actually, it was later 90s. I think about the time I started getting into Panic. Imagine that.
Yeah, part of me wishes I had waited, till I was at least 18 before I smoked any weed or anything like that. But, it turned out okay, I guess. But,
when did you pick up a guitar?
So my brother, my 13th birthday, my brother bought me a guitar and lessons. And it was a pretty big deal present. I guess he was tending bar at the time, and he must have had a big night of tips and felt like I needed something to do. And so I just kept after it. I had a really, really good teacher in the early part of, I took lessons for about a year then. His name was Charlie Norman, and he wouldn't let me pick anything to learn until I guess he had his way on some things and made sure that I knew how to do some fundamental things.
Mm-hmm.
And my first song, and I still haven't even heard the real song. I have no idea what it sounds like. But the first song I learned on guitar was some song called 500 Miles. And it's not the one that everybody thinks of. It's much older than that. And I think it was like G, E minor, A minor, C or something. That's probably some kind of bluegrass song. But, and then I can't remember all the other progressions. But then I kept playing after stopping taking lessons, and, played through high school like a complete dumbass and without discipline. But still kept progressing. But, I think back on it, it's like, man, I should have gotten an electronic tuner. And because my guitar was constantly slightly out of tune, probably from 15 to 22. I got used to playing with a guitar that was just slightly out of tune.
You were doing a drop something.
Yeah, exactly. A drop flat. But I was like, man, I would have been able to figure out songs on my own a lot faster if I'd have experienced what it was like playing the guitar. Back then, it's funny now. This is, it being in a tribute band and any kind of band now, the luxury of the information that everybody has to learn music is just, it's no wonder that, if you ever, in my opinion, like bands would cover, original bands would cover another band song at one of their shows. And of course, they would change the feel of it at some point or another. Some of them played it straight, but Widespread Panic did several covers, and they were generally on point with the original composition, but there was like something that a part was left out, or something was simplified, and so it's just slightly different, and they put their own feel on it. And I know that especially in the 90s, that was like the thing. You don't cover a song straight. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of that if you notice now, Widespread Panic, when they do covers, they are very with the original composition. It still sounds like Widespread Panic playing the song, but the all the elements of the original composition in terms of the right notes at the bridge and all the specific changes, or there are no missing hooks from any of the compositions now.
Do you think that's a Jimmy influence, just being such a goddamn wizard?
Yes, the meticulousness of Jimmy Herring, absolutely. But the other thing that I think, and this especially applies to the 90s, man, if you're trying to learn a song in the 90s and even the early 2000s, there was no YouTube where you could watch the original artist where they put their fingering on the fretboard so they could give you a general idea of where to hunt. There was no, you had a worst case scenario, you had like a cassette tape or an album. and then best case scenario, you had a CD, and you'd have to hit the rewind button. There was no looping. You couldn't loop a part on your computer. There was no visual aid. You might have been able to find a tablature book, but I mean, my ADHD mind just could not handle looking at tabs.
Yeah, me too.
Couldn't stand it. But with the cassette tape, which was actually a way that I had to figure things out, over the years, I could never get my guitar to match the tone because the cassette, over time, the cassette stretch or do whatever it is they do, and the song is half a step up or down usually from what was recorded, and you could never get your guitar to match up with it, and then you're hitting rewind and stop it. So figuring out songs of other people meticulously was just a lot of it's really hard. But now with all the information that people have at their disposal, it's like, I mean, you should be playing it's cool if you want to reinvent the song, but there's no excuse to not play it right.
Yeah, that's one thing I talked to Ted Rockwell about, was how big a deal it was when they started putting tablature on that site, just to be able to, and some of it would, and I figured out a couple times that some of it wasn't right, like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean. And so, but
absolutely,
but at least you had a starting
right
point.
Direction.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay, so you're in college. So your roommate was the one that turned you on to Panic? Is that where you were going?
Well, it took a little time. So he's like, "Hey, have you ever heard of this band, Widespread Panic?" Man, we went on a tangent there, didn't we?
Oh, no, that's okay.
He said, "Have you ever heard of this band called Widespread Panic?" And I was like, "I have not." Well, actually, that's not true. I said, "I've just read about them in Rolling Stone because I think Horde Tour was going on then, or had during the summer." And so I'd read a big story, having not listened to any of the music at all, about Blues Traveler and Fish and Panic and Big Head Todd and all these bands that were part of that Spin Doctors. The only one that I had heard to date was the Spin Doctors, because they had videos on MTV, and maybe Blues Traveler, but I don't think their videos came until later. And so, I was interested already. And so he played, I think the first Widespread Panic song I heard was Please, maybe. I think it might have been Please. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then, we skipped around a little bit. And then he threw on the Mom's Kitchen album. And I think I listened to Walkin'. And I was like, it's pretty cool. But you know how it is when you first hear something, I have to say that I gave him the benefit that most people don't give you when you're trying to show people music. They start yapping in the middle of it and they stop actively listening to it. Always, somebody wants to show me a song, I always give them the courtesy of actively listening to it, and I think that's a nice thing to do. I think it's super rude when you're trying to show somebody something and then they just like 10 seconds in start talking. It's like, bro.
Panic was interesting too, to go back to your thought about their records, because people that would listen to the studio albums, there was certainly good songs, but they they just weren't the live performances. So it was always cool to go with somebody to a show that had only listened to their CDs and watch them react to how they played live, because it was so different, you know.
Yeah, and that's that was the thing. I was like, I found the music to be interesting, but I also found it like I was like, going from where I was coming from, noisy rock with weird sounds and effects and stuff. And these guys were playing on the records, at least, were playing super clean. And, Johnny Sandlin produced those records, I think, and I mean, he did an awesome job. I mean, if you hear, it's really cool hearing where those songs were, because there are some recordings out there before Johnny got his hands on them, and then what ended up coming out on that album. It's like that goes to show you that's what a producer does. A good producer makes something that's pretty okay and something that ends up being great. And anyway, so I was like, that's pretty cool. And he'd play those records every now and then when I was in there, in the room and whatnot. But I didn't get really into it until a month or so later into the year. And the first girl I dated there was older than me. I got my first older girlfriend, and she said, do you want to go see Widespread Panic? And I was like, yeah, I heard of those guys, and they're playing at Mississippi State down the road a couple hours. And so, yeah, I went with the cool older girl and her friends, and we went to Mississippi State to listen to Widespread Panic, and I was pretty excited about it. And I think I got dosed, and man, it changed everything in terms of like my respect for the band. I was like, holy crap, these guys are good.
What year was that?
And 93.
All right, I'm gonna go look that show up.
It was good. I think it was I can't remember if it was a 2-set. I think it was a 1-set show. And they played, what they were playing back then in terms of, that's the funny thing is in their early touring days, I mean, they didn't shuffle the set list nearly as much as they do now, Their catalog wasn't as deep, for one, and two, they were still, when you're talking about the touring model was still kind of what, with the exception of the Grateful Dead, of course. I mean, the touring model was still for bands, hey, you need to play some songs that you're trying to push out there as many times as you can. And so, I mean, Panic had a lot of repeats from show to show in the earlier days, and as they should have, because that's what you're supposed to do when you're in a rock band.
Those college campus runs.
Yeah, and what you do when you're in a rock band, you're trying to make it. You're trying to get people to remember your songs. You're not just gonna play anything. You gotta. They had whatever their strategy was then, or what their management was probably directing to some extent or another. Because that's the thing. Man, I could go on a big tangent about jam bands and choices that jam bands are making and things like that, and what the difference between Fish, Widespread Panic, Mo, Humphreys, those guys, your first wave of that genre, in a sense, were not. There was no jam band category. The music industry created that to try and figure out how to sell them. They were all just rock bands that were playing the music they liked and wanted people to hear and wanted to make it big as a rock band.
Right.
Or whatever it is their end game was, And I feel like that is the key difference. And so when I hear a lot of these newer jam bands, for lack of a better word, as they are approaching it with the mindset of being a jam band instead of a rock band that jams. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Like the songwriting is just not quite there. It's like it's really the songs seem to me to just kind of be a vehicle for them to throw their jam into, rather than, you strip away the jam and then the song's not very interesting. Whereas, Panic and Fish, they had records and they jammed the crap out of those songs when they played live, but their record versions, this is the song,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And you know, I wore those CDs out, both of those bands, and because their songs were good, you know? And it's even better with the jam. But if the song had no jam at all, it was still a cool song.
And God bless the cassette tape, because back in the day, you weren't skipping from song to song. You were putting that motherfucker in and just letting it play.
And that's just letting it rip, man.
Yep.
And yeah, that's another thing. People, it's funny how everything in a sense has changed. And, there was more risk involved with trying out a new band in terms of the financial commitment.
Did you have a...
Oh,
go ahead. Sorry. Let me cut you off.
And that's another reason why it was harder. People were less inclined to be a cover band back then, because acquiring all the music you'd need to learn, not as easy as it is today either. So
I had some relatives that most of the people that I hang out with are of our breed. I had a couple family members that would try to do Panic, but they couldn't get past the 15-minute songs. And I remember I have to go back and look and see what show it was. It was an early show, like late 80s, and I remember JB saying after like the first few slow methodical songs they did, I remember him saying, "All right, now that all the scaredy cats are out of here," and they would run, they jump in a machine or something. But but you had to like those long ballads that would just take you, take your mind somewhere and then bring you back and snap you out into something new. But,
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
What did you have a band before you? I think you founded Panic Stricken in 2014, coming up on a 10-year anniversary. Did you have another band before that?
Yeah, so for a couple of years or so, I played with a few different people in Austin. I didn't play, so of course, played with guys in college, but we didn't, go anywhere or do anything. But we just jammed a lot, and and then did a acoustic guitar duo with a buddy of mine in Beaumont for a couple of years before I went to law school, and that was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about performing through that.
Was Beaumont the guy you did the video? Y'all were sitting on the porch playing Driving. Is that who that was?
No. That's me and Cam.
Oh, okay.
We did that a couple of years ago. Now, this guy's name was John Cobb, or is, I should say, and one of my best friends. Went to high school with me. He's a couple years older than me. And he's one of those guys that is just kind of nauseates you because everything he tries he's awesome at it.
Right.
He makes it look super, super easy. But when you know him, in his quiet time, when you're not around, he's working, and that's why he's so good at everything. But he's a portrait painter by profession, and he's really good at that. And but he would play. He would do this cool finger thump style of strumming chords.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really cool percussive rhythm, and he was able to blow cross harp leads while he was doing that on his harmonica.
Oh my God!
And with his harmonica stand, and so I had to fit in there somehow, and so I was his lead guitarist. But God forbid, I was probably a better lead guitar player then than I am now. And we did harmonies and singing, and we did a lot of quirky songs and some mashups and things like that. And it was a really fun thing. We got some pretty good crowds in Beaumont, and then went to law school and played with some guys every now and then there, and kept playing guitar and singing and stuff. But I didn't, wasn't anything. Didn't have the time to do anything more important than that. And then after I got out of school, I did another acoustic guitar duo with a guy named Dave Dixon in Houston, and we played out a bit and did a bunch of country songs, and I think we even threw a Steely Dan song in there and a few other random things that we liked. I think some Wilco, and it was pretty fun.
That's cool.
And then I moved to Austin, and I was like, there is no way I'm going to be able to play out anywhere here without being, a lot more pro about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least that was my mindset at the time. But after a few years of not playing with people, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I gotta get out there and play. Started playing with some guys here, and we had a band for a couple of years, and we did Grateful Dead and any other kind of thing that caught our fancy, but it was mostly Dead covers, and it was a lot of fun. My brother wanted my band to play in Beaumont for some party he had, and so I asked those guys, do y'all want to do this? And they're like, yeah. And it was like, several months before the gig, and everybody was all, aces about it, And as the day got closer, all of a sudden, some of the important people in the group all of a sudden couldn't do it anymore. And I was out of keyboard player, out of lead guitar player, and out of percussionist, I think, but still had a drummer and bass player. And so I got a friend of mine to stand in on guitar, Danny Anderson, who's just a stone cold killer on guitar, but I think he's retired from doing live music now, but he was awesome. And he was from Beaumont, but he lived in Austin. And so we had that connection before I'd known him before I moved up to Austin. And so that position was covered, and then was trying to find a keyboard player. And there at the time, a live one had been playing for a while, and they're the distribute here in Austin. Their keyboard player signed up to go down to Beaumont with me. And anyway, I rode down the whole trip there and back with him, and we talked for a long time. And he was telling me about the live one and what they were doing and everything. And I was like, why isn't there a Panic cover band? And I was like, shit, it's like I can. It doesn't take me any effort at all to sound a little bit like JB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say something like.
And so I was like, I should make a freaking. Why don't I make the Panic tribute band? And I was like, what do I need? And I was like, will you help me make the band? And he's like, sure. But you're gonna have to upgrade, your rhythm section that you currently have.
Is this Rex you're talking to?
No, it's not Rex. It was,
okay. Different guy though. I'm sorry.
Different guy.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll come to me in a minute. I can think of his nickname. Wes. That's it. Wesley Haynes was his name.
Gotcha.
He's like, you're going to need to upgrade your rhythm section. And I was like, well, you help me recruit some guys. And he's like, yeah. And so, that's I found some people, and they were the first version of Panic Stricken. But the funny thing is Wes was helping me recruit these people, and he was going to be our keyboard player. And then he decided not to do it. And so we had to go find another guy to, the whole, it's so, herding cats, as they say. It's cool. We did, and then Panic Stricken started, and people were super duper excited about it. Probably in hindsight, I wish we had rolled it out a little later and gotten a little bit better at what we were doing before, we started off, but it is what it is. And here we are today. But, that's like you were saying, when we were texting before, you were like, man, I wish I had known something about, some of the technical things about podcasting and editing and stuff like that before I did my first few podcasts. But that's just never how it works, You just can't. You just have to just do the stuff, and that's the only way. And you're just going to have to tolerate sucking at it.
Yeah, I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, it's okay to make mistakes. You just, as long as you're learning from it, it's not really a mistake. So
exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's just the experience is the experience and practice is the mother of skill. And
so your first show as a band, Panic Stricken, that was at Thirsty Planet, is that right?
Yeah. Hey, you did some research.
I did.
March 30th, 2015. And so, this March 30th happens to be on a Saturday. So we need to get to work to do something special on that day. I mean, you can't not play on your 10th anniversary.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When it's on a Saturday of all days. Jesus. So,
I'll come down.
We'll
I'll
do
come down
something
for that.
there. Can't quite figured out what we're going to do there.
What was
But,
it like stepping out on the stage for the first time as a Panic tribute? And how many people you reckon there was in the room?
well, it was outside,
Okay.
and we played on maybe some pallets or big pieces of plywood. I can't remember, but about 150 people showed up.
Oh wow.
People were really excited, and they seemed to enjoy it. Although, I know that with the exception of maybe 3 or 4 songs, it was probably pretty mediocre. But man, it was a lot of fun just to finally, execute it a little bit. And by and large, that unit stayed together for about four years before we started, with a few ins and outs at certain spots along the way. But we did that for 4 years or so, and made lots of mistakes. And then Cam took over on lead guitar, the guy who's there now.
Mm-hmm.
He started with us in 2018, I think.
He's real impressive too.
Oh man, no kidding. And I knew he was great, and he wasn't he came in and he was not afraid to share his opinion and in a diplomatic way, and he certainly had a focus of increasing the quality of the music we're playing. And I mean, everybody wants to do that, right? But sometimes how to explain that to people is not as easy. And he was good at that. And so we had an increase in discipline a little bit, and we pared the catalog down some and focused on getting better at certain things. And
did anybody were all these guys, John, Grady, Rex, Cam, were they all Panic guys to begin with, or did they?
Let me get to that.
Sorry.
So we had John in the band, and he was a Panic guy, and Cam was a Panic guy, a little more casual of a Panic guy than most.
Not a weirdo like us.
He had seen them live like almost every time they had come to Austin, and really liked them. And the other guys in the band, we had at the time Kenny Valentine on bass and Michael Bain on drums. Who Kenny was a fan, a casual fan as well, and became more of a fan. But Kenny and Michael too were fans of music that older music that's adjacent to Widespread Panic. In fact, Widespread Panic covered a lot of the songs,
like Traffic and stuff.
Meters, Traffic, all their stuff. So like some of the covers we did covers came together faster because some of those guys were familiar with that stuff.
That's cool.
And they were really good. Kenny was just a big mountain of a guy, and kind of like Grady, maybe a little bigger. We were really lucky the whole time to have a bass player with some skill and also stage presence the whole time in the band. But Kenny and Michael and some of those guys, life started getting in the way a little bit. And after our last show in, I think 2019 is that band, Cam was like, hey man, let's, keep going. But I think some of the guys don't have the time to commit to what we need to do if we want to, expand our horizons with this thing a little bit. And so
Grady looks like the type of guy, like if shit's going to go down the bar, you want to make sure you know where he's at in the room.
Man. Well, he was, for Grady before an injury was, potentially collegiate level wrestler.
Oh, wow.
Until he had some type of knee injury or something, but I think he had scholarship offers and stuff like that. Indiana boy, big old Indiana boy. And so Grady, the cool thing about Grady is Grady from time to time when Kenny couldn't play, subbed in for us over those years before 2019. Grady had played with the band probably a dozen times or almost that many, and he was in a band with Connor and Max Moscow, They were called Kuduku, and we actually played a show with Kuduku, and all those guys were watching us play. And so after 2019, our last show in 2019, we decided, Cam, I guess, had been talking to Grady and Connor about coming in as the rhythm section. And and with the keyboard player we had, Daryl Commander, who he's in Asheville now. He's really great. We're just going to have Daryl stick around. But then, Max was really interested in playing. And I was thinking, Kim and I were thinking, well, Max and Grady and Connor are already in a band together. So there's like, a chemistry there between the three of them that would probably be really good. And so we just decided to take 3 out of 4 of the guys from Kuduku, and we
you sound good.
We had a meeting, and talked it over, and everybody was, we wrote down a list of songs that, say we're going to have our first practice on this day. Everybody have these ready, and let's go, And so we had that first practice, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, whoa. I was like, this is what it's like. This is what it's supposed to sound like. And you thought what you were doing before was pretty good, but man, then you're like prettier good. So we were really excited. And we had booked a show, a venue that would have been no cover. So curiosity cats of all kinds would have come, and we were going to film it and use the footage from that show and market shows in the future. And, we had a really good plan, and then COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so it took us, we had to wait another year before we could roll the new version out, which is, more or less the version we're playing with now.
I've been really impressed with the production that Purple Bee has done for you guys, because it I don't know, it just looks really, really good, real professional, and man.
We are extremely lucky to be friends with those guys. They're incredible. Yeah, Dustin and Evan have been doing that stuff, and with Grego and a couple other folks, they've been doing that stuff for years here, and they're a huge resource for the Austin music scene. It's really fortunate that they do what they do, and their skill and work ethics top notch, and they're really fun to work with, and they're really fun people to hang out with too. They're extremely funny.
Could you tell the story? Sorry to cut you. I'm a little ADD too, so forgive me. Could you tell the story of you guys are positioned to play? Panic comes to town. COVID happens. They have to cancel their shows, but you guys pushed forward and had like 1,000+ people come out. What was that like?
Man, it was kind of a life-changing event in a sense for us. We've been doing our thing, and we're having a good time, and had gotten really dialed in. And then we knew that Grady and his wife at the time were about to have a kid, and that summer. And so I guess a couple weeks or so before Lila was born, we went on a break and took a couple of months off for Grady and his family. And so we were doing nothing. We weren't practicing. We weren't playing. We hadn't touched a song in about 3 months. And actually, most of us were going to be going to the Widespread Panic run as spectators, looking forward to it. And then rumors started, flying around. And then, I guess it was Thursday, or no, it was maybe that day, Friday, the first show that JV said he couldn't go, and because of COVID. But all the people were in town. I felt so bad for all the people that came in from out of town. I was like, God, it sucks. I mean, I live here, so other than being sad not being able to go, it costed me nothing. And then our agent at the time called us and was like, I think I might be able to put together a show at the Empire for tomorrow on Saturday. And all these people are in town, they need something to do. And if we can pull this off, do you think we can do it? And of course I called everybody immediately. I was like, hey guys, I know we haven't done anything, but we might, this might be pretty fun. Let's do this. And, of course, Grady was the key ingredient, and fortunately he was able to do it. Yeah, we were like, oh God, what do we do? And so we just put a list together of songs that we thought we could, execute well, given that we hadn't, played or practiced in so long, and just hope for the best, and hope we don't embarrass ourselves out there. And I guess, the universe had its plan to take care of all those fans, and we ended up, I didn't listen to it. I hadn't listened to it in over a year or two since it happened, and until I guess about 6 months or so ago, I went ahead and, the recording's not very great. I dare say, you've ever heard of the Tiny Hat guy, Mike Andler, I think is his name at the time.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he was up there and he filmed the whole show from his, however he does it, I guess a GoPro attached to his tiny hat or whatever. And,
isn't he bald?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I saw him at Red Rocks one time.
He's a really fit, bald guy.
I saw him at Red Rocks. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he filmed the whole thing. So I listened to it the other day, and I was like, that wasn't bad. I was actually kind of surprised. And yeah, seeing all my, all of our, the coolest thing about it, one of the coolest things about it is, seeing that sea of people out there and playing and just having a great time with the fellas. And, but all the people, like in the first, 5 or 6 rows of people were, by and large composed of the people who had been watching us all the time. And so that was really fun. It was like our home team and then a sea of people. And,
man, that had to be special.
It was really special, man. It was a lot of fun. And, it was an honor.
I'm sure a very reverent crowd too.
It helped, man. Word got around us, and there's still some haters, but it's unavoidable. But
yeah.
Yeah, it helped pave the way for us to expand a little bit and spread the gospel of widespread panic, as we say. And
I know where to find you guys on YouTube, and I did go pull up that Barstools y'all did this past June in Austin. That was solid. And I think I just answered my own question. I've got it looped in the background. It looks like you've got a hollow body Washburn is that kind of your go-to?
Yeah. So I used to play on a Gretsch Electromatic, and that got stolen along with all of my gear was in my vehicle at the time when I was eating lunch somewhere, and somebody just stole the whole damn thing. And the vehicle was recovered, but of course the gear was not, and that was sad. And so I had to replace everything. And one of my friends, Carter Arrington, was selling that Washburn, and it was, he set it up and everything already, and it was really, it was a guitar that was suitable for him to play, and he is like, you should Google him.
Okay.
Let me put it that way. He is an absolute beast on guitar. I think he went to the same school as Jimmy Herring did, but I'm not sure. I know there's a connection.
Carter Arrington?
There. So Carter Arrington, yeah, he's a complete badass, really good player. And nice guy, and he had that guitar for sale, and I was like, son of a bitch. I was like, that's kind of the same guitar JB plays, and I was like, you know what, I'll go ahead and get that. And I did, and I love it. You and I saw each other at Sam's show at Terminal West, so it was cool to see you person to person. I had every intention of coming to see y'all play at the 40 Watt, but I could not get a babysitter, and my kids are old enough to where you can leave them here for a little while, but being about an hour away, and I was like, so I couldn't make it. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, I can leave my kids alone. When they're here with me, I can leave them alone for a couple hours if it was absolutely necessary. But they get, they start to worry, and there's no way with a clear conscience that I could go, hey, y'all go to bed. I'll see y'all in a few hours. There's no way I could do that. After you leave,
I'd be a nervous wreck too. What was it like? Was that y'all's first time in Athens?
Yes. We've been trying to get out that way for several years, but it's a legit. Austin is a fantastic town for starting a band because of the embarrassment of riches we have with players and clubs to play in around here. And but if you are in a niche genre like we are, our hay is out there, out beyond the borders of Texas, and outside of Houston and Dallas. We can't like go cruise on down to Corpus or up to Amarillo and hit all the little towns in between like a red dirt country band could and just kill it in Texas all day long. So it's 5 hours east. You have to drive 5.5 hours east of Austin to get out of the state of Texas.
Damn.
And west, it's even worse, as you can imagine, and north. And so, and then there's just a shitload of nothing. I mean, there's some pockets of fans in Oklahoma, but there's just a shitload of nothing between us and Colorado, basically. And a little bit of New Mexico. We played at Albuquerque, and that was a good time. But it takes.
That must have been kind of cool for you guys to. I mean, Athens is a little different than what it used to be. It's very built up. But did you catch any feelings kind of being in the motherland?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've been looking forward to it for a really long time. And then just to go back there behind the stage and see all the graffiti and some of the pictures and they showed us around and just and to feel that you could just kind of feel the energy of that place. I mean, it's like REM, the B-52s, and Widespread Panic, and
Bloodkin,
God,
Vic.
Bloodkin. I mean, Vic. Yeah, I mean, like that was just, and you could, that's people will argue with you about whether you feel people's energy or not. Everybody has skeptics, but I would say yes. I mean, I felt an energy at that place, and it was a lot of fun playing there. Everybody at 40 Watt was really helpful and pro and took good care of us, and the sound guys were great. And on top of that, we had a really nice crowd especially for a first time, going to a new place. So we'll be back there as soon as humanly possible.
Excellent.
Probably 2025, early 2025, hopefully.
We're
still trying to work out next year's schedule.
I've committed to, so I've had this conversation with Sam and with Ted. By and large, a lot of people consider 97 to kind of be like the year where Panic was really, really dialed in from a Mikey era perspective. So I've committed to this month, I'm going to listen to every show from 97. But thinking back, do you have any shows that were maybe special to you?
Oh yeah.
I was hoping maybe you rattle off, maybe one or two that you've got some fond memories of.
Oh, absolutely. So the 93 Mississippi State show is actually pretty damn good.
Definitely gonna listen to
that. Getting a good recording of it, the one on Panic Stricken, not terrible. Then 95 in Oxford when they played at Tad Smith, of course, Widespread Panic appears to think that one was a good one too, since they made a CD out of it. Archive recording, and then let's see, Chattanooga, 1996, Chastain Park in Atlanta, I think in 1996. Both their shows were really good.
I never got to see them at Chastain, but that would have been awesome. That's such a cool little place.
That was a really cool venue. I loved it. Let's see. I'm trying to think where I attended in 97. I didn't get to spread my wings very much that year. I think I was pretty broke and I was working a lot.
I get that.
trying to get through the school grind, and
Mm-hmm.
I experienced a lot of FOMO that year, unfortunately. I definitely. Another one. I think is Mud Island 96 or 97. I think
Mm-hmm.
one of those years I went to that one, and that show was fire. fast forward to 2001, the Oak Mountain Run.
Oh yeah, that was there. Oh.
So, that was
wasn't that the year where
probably one of the most fun weekends of my life.
Was that the year when they were busting everybody? When that the bummer from that weekend, or was that the year before?
I think Operation Don't Panic was the following year.
Okay,
if I recall correctly, because I think during the Oak Mountain, the 2001 run, there were some ODs, and I think some girl may have committed suicide.
Oh my God,
I can't remember. It was pretty tragic. It's a tough deal.
Yeah, no doubt.
I hate when bad things like that happen.
Yeah.
And then the following, or before or after that, I think it was after. When was that? The Veterans Memorial Stadium in Jackson was also great. But really, I'll tell you what, the recording I would like to get my hands on from that show was R.L. Burnside's set before Panic played. R.L. Burnside. I mean, I'd seen R.L. a ton because at Proud Larry's he played there at least once a month. And I made, I was a pizza chef there, and I made like 12 pieces for him and his family every time he came.
When I talked to Cody, we talked about he lived like his family lived, Cody Dickinson, his family lived right next to them. So of course I had to ask him about that. I was like, how the hell did you meet those guys? And he's like, man, they just lived in the town that we were at. Mm-hmm. What year was that though? I'm sorry, Jackson.
I think 2001 is the Jackson
Veterans
Memorial Stadium, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
And then Bonnaroo, their Bonnaroo sets were extraordinary as well. So that's my Mikey era. I would say those are my my personal favorites. I mean, obviously Huntsville '96 was
fire,
badass.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody knows that. I was supposed to go to that one, but something happened at the last minute.
Where can people find you? Like if they want to follow you, follow the band, what's the best, what are your handles? How can they get on your mailing list?
Yeah, awesome. So our website and all of our social media handles are Panic Stricken ATX.
Got it.
So Facebook, Insta, you can follow us on Twitter, but I haven't tweeted a thing and I can't remember. I've never found that one. Unfortunately, I've never been able to figure out how to make that one happen. But our Instagram, I'd say if you follow anything of ours, besides our website, of course, which we're in the process of updating. And so if you go to that one, you might get an error. Unfortunately, we're trying to get that. In fact, as soon as I get off the phone with you, that's my next phone call, is to try and figure that problem out. And then, but Instagram is far and away the place to be for finding stuff out about us. Cam is in charge of the Instagram, and he's been crushing it. And
awesome.
I have access to it, but I rarely do anything myself on it because Cam, I just get out of his way. And so, but we update that constantly. Links to our most recent shows, upcoming shows are going to be in our bio on our profile page on Instagram. We put stories up all the time. If you follow us on Instagram, you will definitely be informed about what we're doing for the most part.
Now, I know you're a big Panic guy like I am, but I always ask people this. Is there any other music that you're listening to or any other bands that people should be checking out? What are you listening to right now?
As far as new stuff goes,
or old stuff, what do you listen to when you're not playing?
Older music. I listen to the Meters quite a bit. I have a soft spot for Wilco, Radiohead, and a lot of country stuff. I listen to Sturgill a lot, and also all about Willie and Waylon and all those guys that probably hit one of those songs every day. I love
Sturgill. He's good stuff.
Oh yeah, he's great. And Tyler Childers. I like Post Malone too. That guy does everything.
Me too. He's awesome.
My kids got me into Post Malone. And And yeah, I have a lot of respect for that guy. He's a weird dude, but man, what a fucking monster of a talent.
Oh my God. He's everywhere.
Billy Strings, of course. Billy Strings is heavy in my rotation. I kind of like that band Eggy.
Me too.
They're pretty damn good. I want to like Goose so much. I do. I throw one on every week because sometimes it just takes time to like things. It just.
Have you seen him live yet?
That's the missing component.
That's where you.
I got some
That's where.
friends here.
Yep.
That's what I hear.
You'll get it.
So I got some friends in Austin going. You got to go to these New Year's shows, and we'll see. I might check one out.
It's totally different, and man, their lights are very fishish. It's hard to compete with CK5, but Goose is. Yeah, go see him live, and we'll have to circle back for sure on that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely. I mean, I feel like this many people liking something. I mean, it's got to be something to it. I guess I think I'll try. I'll just crank up a live. Did you have a live recording that you would recommend to me? And I'll just throw that on my stereo and turn it to 11.
Their Radio City run was pretty good, and Trey comes out and does a couple songs with them. Let's see. Any of their stuff on Apple or Spotify, their live stuff is pretty damn good.
Okay.
It's very reminiscent of when I got into Panic, like because their crowd is so into them, their fan base. It's easy to get sucked in when you're there live, but it's
when you're there, getting in that getting to feeling the energy and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, obviously they're doing something right, Wolfpack, I like those guys.
I've not heard of them.
Thundercat. Silk Sonic, the collaboration that Bruno Mars and what's his name? Cam actually went to music school with him. Why can't I think of his name? It's driving me crazy. I love the guys. Tiny Desk concerts. I
know you're talking about
the drummer. What's his name? Anderson .Paak.
Yes.
Oh my God, that guy. I love that guy.
He's so good.
He's one of my favorites.
That gives me a bunch. I like to put the links.
Domi and JD back. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're a duo. They're young. I think they're in their early 20s, but they've been playing together. And I think they're also a couple. And Domi's French, maybe from Canada or actually from France. But her and JD, I think, are in New York. I could be wrong about that. But he plays drums and she plays keyboards, and it is it's like really incredible jazzy stuff, and the musicianship is off the charts. There's a really cool YouTube video that I throw on all the time where those two join Thundercat, and Ariana Grande comes in and they sing one of Thundercat's songs. I think it's called "Them Changes," and it's really good. I mean, the execution's awesome, and Ariana sings great in it. And but they do a jam. They do a jam break in it, and they get just absolutely four-dimensional on it. And I felt kind of sorry for Ariana Grande because she just like kind of dancing around. She's not exactly sure what she's supposed to be doing for like 3 minutes, which is an eternity on stage when you don't really have a part to play. And,
you're wishing you had a tambourine. Like, God damn it.
Yeah, she needed to give her something with her hands. She would have been great. And, but she just kind of had this spot. Thundercat was making all these funny faces at her, while he's jamming, and it's just really entertaining.
I'm going to try to get out to see you guys at Avondale. I think I can get there after work in time to catch all. I don't know. Have you played there before?
No, we're really excited about that.
Man,
one too.
They've had some killer acts coming through there, but whether you're
Yeah,
inside or
cake is right.
yeah,
Cake is the week following us. Actually, I wish
it's
I could stick
insane.
around for that.
Well, man,
Uh,
it's really good to meet you. I love what y'all are
yeah,
doing. It's you bring a cool element to the band. Well, all your guys do, but you especially because you do have the JB-isms down, and it's I can't
thanks.
wait. I can't wait to see you guys live. I hated to miss you when you were here, and but I will see you for sure at Avondale, and hopefully everybody. Tell me what your tell me what your upcoming shows are, just so people know here.
Sure. So tomorrow, oh my God, tomorrow, we're playing at Cervantes. That's Friday night. I think we go on at 8:30 or 9, and then the next day we're rolling out to Ridgeway, Colorado, which is not far from Telluride,
Ooh.
and it's going to be Punish Ball's journey, but we're going to do it. It's a nice place. We're playing at the Million Roadhouse, which I guess is by that $1 Million Highway thing or whatever the attraction is out there. And we're doing a set. I think it starts at 6 or 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Outdoors should be quite nice, assuming the weather stays cooperative. And then we're doing a little Sunday brunch set after that. So 2 days at Ridgeway. And then Grady, Connor, and Cam are going to roll across the country, making their way to Charleston for our show on Friday the 13th at the Poorhouse. We're playing the deck out there, and that one I think starts at 6.
Oh, that's right, because you're right ahead of Drifter Fest.
Yes, and Cedric Burnside's playing inside there, so I'll probably check that out after we're done. But
no doubt.
But Cam and Grady and Connor are stopping in I think Kansas City and a couple of places around there. I wish I knew that right off the top of my head so I could talk about the Grady Ray Band, or actually not the Grady Ray Band. They're the Gators is what they're called. In fact, I'd like your listeners to check his band out. As you can see from his stage presence when he plays with us, Grady is a formidable songwriter. Has written some very excellent songs, and he plays them in his band Gators. And Cam and Connor are in the band, so you know that they're really tight, and they play all kinds of stuff. Cam writes too. I'm not sure if they played any of his songs yet, but I know that they're working on a couple of them, and he's just a force as a songwriter and a player and a singer. Grady, we try to get a school song or two in every one of our shows because everybody deserves to hear Grady.
That's awesome.
Be the front man that he is. Extraordinary. We are extremely lucky to have this group of guys together. Just to have the privilege of playing this stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. I'm really happy that people are enjoying it. So back to the subject at hand. After Grady and the Gators make their way across, so we'll be doing the Charleston Courthouse, and the next day we're going to Charlotte. That's the Saturday the 14th, and we're playing at the Rabbit Hole. Is the name of that place. And then Sunday, most of Panic Stricken goes back to Austin, but the Gators are staying, and they're going to play a Sunday show at the Rabbit Hole. And I tell you what, if you go to the Panic Stricken show, I guarantee you'll enjoy the Gators.
Okay.
So everybody should check them out any chance they get. I'm not just saying that. I mean, obviously I'm biased because, Grady is one of my dear friends and is a great member of our band, but truly they stand on their own merit.
Definitely going to check them out. Yeah.
So I think, and they're on the, I think Facebook is and Instagram, you can find them. I don't know the handle off the top of my head though, but you should be able to find the Gators And if anybody follows Grady Ray, he's Don Ray on Facebook and Grady Ray on Instagram. Grady Ray Music, I think, on Instagram. You'll be able to find the Gators. Great. And you can follow Cam, our guitar player is Jam Cam, and there's a number after that. You should be able to recognize it. Maybe 15. I can't remember.
I noticed Cam's that gator pendant he's got on his necklace. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, that's what that's all about. Yeah, the Gators are extraordinary. So then, after that, we take a week off, and then we're doing the Avondale show on the 27th of September. And then we're playing out on the front lawn of the SAE house in Tuscaloosa on the 28th before the Georgia-Alabama game.
Oh, that'll be rowdy.
That should be very rowdy. Oh, man. Hopefully there will be a little more separation between us and the crowd if we decide to play Chili Water again, because those kids, they get after it. Let me put it that way.
And then it's beer, not water, probably.
100%.
Well, man, it's
beer and whiskey.
That's funny.
Oh yeah, it's pretty wild. We got drenched last time, and we had a whole bit about it because the social chairman was like, "Hey, y'all might not want to play Chili Water because you might get tossed." So there's a video I made on Instagram, and it's like being kind of an idiot, but my professorly lecture on how to properly toss your drink during Chili Water if you're up on the stage.
That's fantastic.
It was pretty funny. But you know what? The first round, it seemed like they absorbed the lesson, but as kids often do, they forget. And so the second round, oh my God, it was all over the place. But fortunately, it didn't ruin any of our stuff, so we're cool.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, it was fun. Then Sunday, I think we're playing on Sunday. Yeah, the 29th, we're going to be down in Pascagoula, Mississippi. Let me think. I can't think of the name of the club off the top of my head. I don't want to thumb through my phone while we're doing this. Let's see. It's not coming to mind, but yep, that's where we're going to be. Pascagoula, Mississippi, and let's see. And then October, we're not doing much. We have some openings in October, so give us a call.
Cool. There you go. I'll put the booking.
We're playing a tailgate party in Austin for the Georgia Texas game, and cool. Yeah, that'll be fun. And then November we're doing the Lyric in Oxford, Mississippi, and I think that show's on the November 9th, maybe. That's whatever the game day is for the Georgia Ole Miss game. We're doing that one. We should just start following Georgia around. I think that's what we can do next year. Just follow the Georgia football team around wherever they go.
Do you know if you're going to be inside or outside for Avondale?
Avondale, outside, I assume.
Awesome. They've got a really killer screen behind you guys that it
we
makes
have
for a great
some animations we can use for that too. I think I'll have to dig them up.
Taylor and her team over there. And the green room is super nice. They got a keg of beer in there for y'all. It's really nice.
Oh, fuck yeah. All right.
I'll come holler at you though, and we'll grab a drink. It's so good to meet you finally. I'm ashamed to say I hadn't seen you yet, but it was not for lack of trying.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's really nice meeting you. I'm glad that you came up and said hi at the Sam show, which, by the way, was excellent until I had to leave.
Yeah.
Sam's original stuff is, I really enjoyed the songs I heard that were, obviously his Panic covers are good.
I threw that at him and his wife. I said, y'all should do some vinyl releases of Tennessee Before Daylight and Outformation.
Yes, the Outformation stuff is really so good. And that was my favorite part of his show. And I feel like he should definitely do more of that.
For sure.
I think it was fun to hear Sam sing songs because he I was surprised hearing the different vocal tones from him that I wasn't used to hearing, and really enjoyed his show.
Me
and I'm
too.
friends with his drummer,
Jeremy.
and do what now?
Jeremy.
Yes. And,
Jeremy's a great guy too.
Oh man, he's a card. He came to our show for a little bit.
Oh, good.
It was fun to see him there and his gal. And Jeremy's great. We talk on Facebook quite a bit. That's our main method of communication. And he's a good fella.
I want to do a this is a little off topic, but I'll tell you, I'll cut this out if I need to, but I want to do, I've been out of work for a few months, so I can't do it right this second, but I want to do a multi artist show in Athens sometime and have Bloodkin, maybe you guys, have Sam, like have like Driving and Crying. I want to put together something like that. Make it, just either, one night, 2 night. I don't know. I've not promoted anything like that before. I've not done anything like that, but I do know a promoter in Athens. I think that would help me, but get everybody together for one night, I think would be amazing.
Shit, yeah. Well, if you can get that organized, man, we'd definitely be interested in that.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Well, Richard, I'll let you get back to your day, and thanks for giving me so much of your time. I really love what y'all are doing. I'm a lingering lead fan until I die, and y'all's music makes me very happy. So I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.